JD is back and no longer sick. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling all right. Still a little something in there, but
probably feel better with that 5 consecutive
Broncos
win
win
for the Broncos, aren't you?
Yes, I'm very.
You're wearing your
excited
jersey
about
too,
that.
aren't you, as well?
Not tonight, actually. Just up a little. Yeah,
okay.
a little bit of a surprise there, but
Very much so.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, feels good. I think it's 3 straight games with. Or I guess 4. Yeah, 4 straight games with 3 turnovers or more. So.
Yeah, and no picks.
Yep. And no picks, yeah.
Which is
so
good.
that catch with Troutman in the end zone was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable what they're doing, and they're turning around things around here. So,
Yep.
and you're at the top of your division. So
I am.
the only one out of luck is our other brother, and our dad. So
Yep,
it's just
unfortunately.
the way it rolls. But we do wish you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and obviously, I'm sure you've got a lot of shopping going on with Cyber Monday deals and Black Friday.
Yep.
But we will get right into tech this week, and something on a small scale to start off with is in relation to WatchOS 10.2 beta. In the latest release, Apple has brought back a beloved feature by many where you can once again swipe between watch faces without having to tap and hold on the face to enter the face switch mode.
All right.
Now, the good aspect to all of this is that with them bringing this back, they have implemented a setting in which you can disable this. Especially if you're someone that's not a fan of, jumping right into watch face swapping.
Okay.
Which I actually find to be very Android-esque, just because it's leaving it up to the user whether they want to enable that feature or not. So,
Yeah, and normally
I always liked it. I'm not sure about you, but
normally Apple's not one to give you the option to do stuff like that. They always are have limiting stuff like that, and when they do, they keep it on a default that you're not aware of normally. Not crapping on Apple today too much, but it's good that they've added that. So.
And if you're unaware of that little line there by Riley, a lot of it has been in the news, this is not part of our set list, but with the whole name drop and police departments going crazy about, you can tap your phone and share your contact. There's a little bit more to it than just that. So that's kind of the underlying, it's on by default. But you did have some more news on Apple, is that right?
Yes, so we have another sad end to an era for Apple, and it's actually one of their most, in my opinion, iconic parts of their history. OS 10.7 Lion and Mountain Lion 10.8 have officially left the online store. Yep. As many will remember, Lion in 2011 was the transition from physical copies of updating your iOS to digital. And up to this point, you're able to buy Mountain Lion /Lion for $19.89 on the Apple Store. And just to kind of give myself a bit of an idea, because I was obviously 11 at this time and really wasn't interested in technology, I kind of watched a good portion of the keynote that, what's his name? I always forget that dude's name.
Let's see, there's Phil Schiller, there's Craig Federighi,
yeah, I think that was him.
Yep.
And he was showcasing Mountain Lion and Lion, and it's just so cool because they actually established iCloud onto Mac, which was awesome. I mean, like, we take it for granted nowadays, and I know I've messed with it on your Mac, JD, but it's amazing how that all kind of just works and blends in together. So, but yeah, this is an end of an era for sure. Kind of sad, not for me personally too much, but I know maybe for some they still keep their discs or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, I still actually have my copy, my physical copy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do, and that's in addition to my old iMac. But it was really just kind of the transition where you didn't really have to worry about, I need to install this or I need to have a disk drive. Like Riley said, it was all from the App Store, and you could just install it from there. Now, of course, it's no longer ported from there. It's actually in the settings itself. So, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed that, and it kind of brings me back to a time where I used to work at Geek Squad, and we used to have that digital copy or physical copy, and that's what we needed to reset MacBooks back to that point and then upgrade them from there. So but it happens, OSs go out of style and new things come abroad. So the Wireless Power Consortium recently announced that the first products set to adopt the Qi 2 wireless standard are in the middle of completing certification. And while that doesn't lend any confirmation as to what models those are, it does give some insight into 2024 being the year that we expect many flagship phones to adopt the magnetic power profile. And of course, this profile was spearheaded by Apple's MagSafe charging specifications. But I would expect that if the Galaxy S24 isn't one of them to adopt the Qi 2 standard, then the Pixel 9 should likely be at least one of the Android models to do so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the WPC also indicated that the magnetic power profile is the lone difference in the second gen standard, as it states that any phone that does not comply with the magnetic profile, it will not receive the Qi 2 badge, even if all other specifications are met. So,
okay, I'm gonna throw another one in there. I'm gonna say OnePlus. I think they will do it, and here's why. I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago in an episode, and I said that the one thing that kind of gives you that nostalgic feel of their prime for OnePlus was wireless charging. So I think next year, if they really truly bring it back, it's got to be this one, because if it is, it's an add-on to a great many things. But I do agree with you there. I think if Samsung, I don't know. I feel like they would, but I don't know.
I do too, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. It's also because they're on the front end of all the announcements in the year, because I think we even talked about it. I think we were expecting it sometime in January, I think.
Yeah.
When we expect that event to take place. So it's right around the corner. I don't know. So that may be even one of them that they're talking about, where they're getting the certification, but I feel like it's coming kind of close, so who knows. But yeah, I think I can see what you're saying with OnePlus. I will say that it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. That's just how I feel about OnePlus, but that we'll kind of leave it at that.
Speculation.
Yes. Yep.
A while back, we discussed a bit of a quarrel between X and Apple, where Apple pulled away from X as an advertiser. Musk challenged them, claiming he would make a new phone, and Apple allegedly claiming they would pull X off of the App Store. Then Cook and Musk made amends, and Apple placed their advertisement back onto Apple. Both parties lived together in harmony until now. There has apparently been physical evidence that many of Apple's ads have often been right next to pro-Hitler ads. Lovely there. Because of this alleged activity, Apple has pulled all of its advertising out of X once again. We really don't have any other news regarding this. I looked quite a bit, because obviously over the last couple of weeks we've had a lot of news coming in. We haven't been uploading, so I've been looking to see, and I don't think there's any updates of whether this has changed. But we will keep you updated, obviously, if there's anything regards to this. But yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I didn't even know there were ads like that. So that's the first.
I didn't either.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I don't really have a response to that.
No, I didn't think you would. It's just one of those. It's one of those weird things. Honestly, I don't know if it's true. I haven't been on X, and I don't think you really have a whole lot, JD, either. So
no,
we really can't say whether
we have
this
the
is true or
mid-tier,
not.
so we have the one where it limits some of the ads. But
exactly.
Honestly, when I get on X, it's normally I'm clicking on notifications.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not
here.
really scrolling as much. But wow, I mean, I can understand that, and it's kind of weird. I mean, I'm sure on a platform you can control, or at least have a sizable control on where the ads are, how they appear, and what's running alongside them. Why that would even be one of the ads included in there definitely makes me suspicious. But
it's beyond me at this point.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep. That's all it is.
It kind of sends chills down the back of my spine right now just thinking about it. But anyway, Amazon is set to take another step in advancing its automobile profile by allowing customers to purchase vehicles directly through their site. Amazon has partnered up with Hyundai in being the middleman for shopping Hyundai's inventory starting in 2024. Amazon was once only a showroom per se, in that it would allow the customers to browse online but never purchase the vehicles. This now changes things up as it allows the buyer to purchase the vehicle and then pick it up at a local Hyundai dealership, or even have the vehicle delivered. Now, there's a lot of what ifs, uncertainties, and probably some hurdles that need to be crossed over. But in my opinion and experience, I still feel like Carvana and even Tesla's way of making car purchases to be the easiest, as well as the fact that it bypasses the distasteful aspect of car salespeople, considering that their salary and commission are kind of packed into that pricing. So I don't know. I think it'll kind of shape the way for online car buying a little bit better. Who knows? Maybe Amazon will actually create some of their own inventory with this kind of new angle that they're going towards. But yeah.
I think it creates a little more of a unified way of purchasing cars online, although you kind of already have that with other websites, like you mentioned, Carvana, and,
yeah, I think there's like a whole, what is it, Vroom or Zoom or something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot on there. Yeah.
Yeah, and weirdly enough, this is kind of related. I don't know why I did this. I went to eBay and searched for cars a few months ago, just because I was curious, and obviously only car parts showed up, and I figured there wouldn't be anything. But it's weird to see these retail establishment stores online, like Amazon, do this kind of thing. Not that it's necessarily a bad idea, but just because it's kind of unheard of for that to happen, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't think of Amazon as a car retail seller, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I mean, the fact that you actually have your own garage on Amazon, just because
that is true. I do love that feature.
I love that too, just because I have my model year and everything like that, and it knows what the trim is,
know
and
exactly
then if I
what parts
brakes
to get
or anything like that, it's just it pulls right up and says if it's compatible or not. So, I mean, it kind of feels like you could sense that coming in the future. And who knows, maybe other brands and dealerships will jump onto that too. So we'll wait and see.
True. Yeah, absolutely. So for a few years now, Dbrand and Jerry Rig Everything have been in collaboration with each other. Since SRE is all about breaking down and taking a closer look at laptops, phones, and other devices, he decided to collaborate with Dbrand and make cases that reflect his work. And I actually didn't even know about this. I know that some companies have actually done this, where they actually get a look of the inside of a phone or whatever, and then they create a case off of it. Here's the unfortunate thing. Casetify, a brand that is even more well known for their case makings, has done the unthinkable and have copied these teardown designs and made them their own. And JRE saw this, and he quickly posted a video claiming that Casetify had willingly copied his collaborative design with Dbrand and been making money off of doing so. And there's even more proof of this, because there's actual Easter eggs that he put into these teardowns, if you will, and they're on the exact same ones that Dbrand made. Or, excuse me, Casetify.
Casetify, yeah. Wow.
Yep. So Casetify went to X and stated the following. Casetify has always been a bastion of originality, and we hold pride in that. We are currently investigating a copyright allegation against us and have immediately removed the designs in questions from all platforms. We'll get to that in a moment. We are also investigating a DDoS attack that disrupted our website. When the allegation surfaced, all systems are back to normal. All customer information is safe. Thanks for your patience and support during this challenging time. However, end quote, sorry. However, X community notes pointed out, and those are the things that are like other people kind of fact-checking and giving information that might be helpful to the viewer. They pointed out that the designs were not completely removed from all retailers. As Dbrand themselves point out on X, they were still selling on Best Buy. Also, the community notes points out that the website was still non-functional when Casetify made that post on X. So, to sum up, they committed copyright fraud, basically claimed that they have no part in said copyright fraud. They lied about removing all of these products in question from all the retail sites, and quite possibly lied about their website being back online, which I don't know why they would do that. It's kind of weird, although maybe it was back online for the time and then it kind of went off. I'm not sure. But regardless, this is just one of those things that really ticks me off, is when you have a company or a collaboration that worked so hard over the years to do something, and then another company's just like, all right, now that's mine. And the entire idea is like, I think someone made this comment too. We don't think that you are going to try and sue. And yes, they actually are suing right now. I forgot to mention that. Both Dbrand and Jerry Rig Everything, they're suing Dbrand. Yeah, Casetify. I'm sorry. These two companies. They are suing Casetify. But it's one of those things where a company does something and they kind of play a bluff and think that you're not going to do it just because you don't want to go through all that money and the hassle. And that's kind of one of the things that someone said Apple does a lot. They steal stuff and they don't expect anyone to try and sue them because, well, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. So, but yeah, I've spoken a lot about this. I'd like to hear your thoughts, obviously, but
yeah, it's not the first time this has happened.
Oh, no, not at all.
I don't know. I kind of find it to be more of a joke. I mean, not that this hasn't happened. I just mean in the sense that, like, why would you try and do something like that? I mean, clearly,
right. It's
when
ridiculous.
It comes to copyright and something that specific where, I mean, maybe they didn't know about the Easter egg specifically, but it's just funny to think that a company like that would even attempt something so low, just for the sake of profits. I mean, I feel like I've heard of them. I didn't think they were like one of the top dogs out there as far as, case makers.
I didn't think they were either.
That's what threw me off. So I'm not sure if that's just from, the various sources that you pull from. But yeah, I mean, obviously I've definitely heard of Dbrand, and I'm aware of Jerry Rig's, partnership with them. But yeah, I don't know. There really is. I really don't actually have much to say about this other than I think it's just pretty pathetic. And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm kind of curious as to how bad it's going to turn out for them, just because that's a big no-no.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, we'll update you if there's anything
Yes.
With regards to this, because there is a lawsuit, and as far as I'm aware, nothing has happened. Like it's still in a case file, or a court filing, a court case.
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, before I let you get back to your next topic, I did just want to state that we won't be having any deals this week. You guys have certainly been pounded by all the Black Friday deals and everything like that.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll just stay right with the tech news. And Riley, you had something on YouTube. Is that correct?
That is correct. So people over on the internet have been digging deep into YouTube's source code. And the reason for this is that they may have found that when that people use AdBlockers, the video takes 5 seconds to load. Many have found that there's an actual JavaScript code that holds back video from loading quickly. Android Central actually emailed them and questioned if any of this was actually true. Well, Google got back to them and didn't even try to hide it. This is a quote from them that was sent to Android Central. Quote, to support a diverse ecosystem of creators globally and allow billions to access their favorite content on YouTube, we've launched an effort to urge viewers with ad blockers enabled to allow ads on YouTube or try YouTube Premium for an ad-free experience. Users who have ad blockers installed may experience suboptimal viewing, regardless of the browser they are using. Later on, a YouTube spokesperson told Android Central the following, quote, ads are a vital lifeline for creators that help them run and grow their business. That's why the use of ad blockers violate YouTube's term of service, end quote. Now, I obviously have an opinion about all this, a few things to say, but I would like to hear your thoughts first on it because, obviously we use YouTube lengthy and we've discussed also about ad blockers as well, so.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we as content creators have transitioned over from the, just the average citizen to, working alongside, the platform and understand that. And then that's how it works. As far as how they're going about this with the delay and stuff like that, and maybe quote unquote limiting the experience. I don't know. I think that's kind of something that just comes with the territory. If you try to do something that's sketchy, then you're gonna probably have a little bit of, backfire from the experience. So that part, I think, is warranted in my opinion. Everybody and anybody knows that ads is how YouTube continues, and as well as how they support their content creators. So I don't know. I don't really disagree with this. I think as far as from a consumer standpoint, yeah, it sucks. But at the same time, there's not much I can say that would be like, oh, well, I think YouTube's just being a little bit too much of a penny pincher. Not really, because if you think about it, with if everyone was doing that, it would be really difficult for them to maintain that profit, and for the creators to continue doing what they're doing, because that would affect their income and revenue. So yeah, I'm not sure if any of your opinions disagree with that, but I mean, that's kind of where I stand on the whole entire situation. So
no, I think you hit it right on the nail. It's one of those things where when you're actually in the business of creating videos and trying to make a business, then you have a different perspective. Whereas if maybe I heard this a few years ago and I hadn't been doing YouTube at the time a whole lot, I'd be like, man, that sucks. Why can't I just want to use AdBlockers? Like, why in the world? But once you actually start doing the work and stuff, and you're like, okay, now I understand. Not to say that people who, aren't, don't do creating stuff are, horrible people or whatever. Although in a sense they kind of are, because they're going against YouTube terms of service, and they're, not allowing a way for those YouTubers to make money. But I totally agree. I feel like there is no other way to do this, like to ensure that people kind of get on that whole, you need to not.
I mean, it could be worse. I mean, they could literally just shut down the entire thing if you had an ad blocker, which I believe they were actually. I don't know the specifics of that, where they were limiting the actual ad blocking capabilities, or you couldn't actually access.
I think I did hear something about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was the whole thing that we had talked about before. But I mean, yeah, it could be a heck of a lot more worse than that. So I think if it were to delay, 3 to 5 seconds or even 10 seconds, I mean, anybody could see that as being, oh, I have slow internet or something. I don't know. But it's just,
for sure,
it's one of those things. So yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. But I'm not going to lie that it doesn't stink for you guys who are trying to access that and, are having some issues. But it's just the way the world works. I mean, that's how ads, they make things go around as far as revenue. So coincidentally, this was not planned, but moving on with, or I should say continuing on with YouTube, YouTube Playables are now available. As a feature that was rolling out in a test phase back in September, the lightweight games that total 37 are now available for YouTube Premium users. Now I'll go through this real quick. To opt into this on the app, simply tap your profile tab, scroll down to your YouTube Premium benefits, tap Try Experimental New Features, and there you can enroll in the playable features. After that, go back to the home page of the app and then tap on the compass on the top left-hand corner, and you will see the Playables option in the list. Quite frankly, I was a little apprehensive of this, just because, of them putting games on YouTube, but as far as how simplistic and just the games just being time passing, you just kind of getting things on the go, I actually see the potential here. The only question I have is long-term edition. For the moment, it's slated to be only available for, I think, until March 28th. So time will tell if Google breaks the habit of killing off their creations. But yeah, I'm not sure. Have you tried these games out at all, Riley, or know of it?
No, I actually have not. I did see, and as you were talking, I was literally just trying to do that whole thing. But I have not done any of that. I did see that, obviously, running through the internet a bit, and I was like, oh, it's finally out. And then I was like, all right, moving on.
Right, yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, I haven't seen it. I'm not really too interested in it. I'll look at the games and see if any of them are interesting. Maybe it's like one of those things, if you're like twiddling your thumbs, you don't have a lot to do, you could probably play them a whole lot.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, just a couple here. Like they have, for those of you who play those games, they have State IO, which is one of those things where you like have so many units in your boundary, and then you send them to another state, and then you're trying to get the whole map to be covered with your color.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah,
So,
and then they have like
Slithery, yeah.
Gin Rummy, Cannonball 3D, Daily Crossword, Free Cell, stuff like that. So it's really like, and there's 37 of these games. So I think it's really nice. The only thing that I would say that I'm not the biggest fan on is because I feel like it's kind of not fully buried, but it's kind of like out of the way, so it could be easily forgotten. I think it would be beneficial if YouTube wants this to kind of be successful. They should actually have it as a tab on the bottom, right up front, so that way people can see it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I don't know if that would kind of ruin the whole entire feel of YouTube itself, but they're kind of implementing this, so I feel like for it to actually have some headway, it would be helpful to actually be it, in a visible way. So.
Yeah, I would agree with you right there. I do think it would kind of I think they should make it an option, although I don't know how that would work in an app setting necessarily, because it's so weird for YouTube to do that, but a switch where you can like turn it on where it would show it on the bottom screen or not. I feel like that might be too much work. But yeah. I think if you did that, because I think some people already were going nuts over the fact that the U tab was switched onto the bottom right in the settings, or your channel profile was on the top right.
Heaven forbid a minor change is made, people.
So just imagine what that would do if,
Yes.
if there's another gaming tab attached to the bottom. I love the idea, and I do I agree with you. If they want to really integrate this a lot better, want people to get into it more, then you kind of need to make it more apparent that it's there. But at the same time,
how do you do that without ruffling feathers?
Yes, we live in a world where the slightest change, people are up in arms, and I get that to a certain extent. There's some things that even I've been upset with when Apple's done this or Samsung's done that or whatever. But it's certain things are just like, why would you get upset over that? But
I mean, it was kind of cool because to close out with this topic here, before we move on, I like the idea because there's a pro and con to this. It's online games only. So that's how they access it. That's why the app isn't so, bogging down the device. The downside is if you, like you said, twiddling your thumbs and you're just trying to, waste time and, you're in a waiting room or whatever, you would need internet or something like that. So that's kind of the downside of it. But I don't really see that being too much of a hindrance just because the majority of the time we are connected to the internet.
Yeah, you have a phone, you have service, yeah.
Right. And then the cool pro to this is I feel like if enough people or if you find a good enough reason to keep going back to it, I almost had that feeling of, wow, I don't know if I really need like more app games on my phone. Just because I feel like this is, conducive enough, for fun just to pass the time when I need to. So that's my take on it. And I've messed around it for, almost a week now, so I've really enjoyed it and I keep on going back to it, so I do hope they keep it. So
agreed. Last week we mentioned that nothing was trying to budge Apple to utilize RCS, which we'll get to in a moment, by utilizing SunBird and making an easier way for you to use a Apple-based service on Android to have sort of a faux RCS, if you will.
Correct.
Well, come to find out, JD was right. He called it out from the very beginning. I thought he was wrong in certain aspects, but he was correct. Dylan Roussel over on X found that messages were being sent back and forth, through SunBird were not at all encrypted. In fact, Roussel found that they were abusing GetSentry, which I think JD also mentioned the other week. If you don't know, GetSentry, we'll say it again, monitors any errors in the messaging system. However, SunBird had been logging those messages and pretending that they all were errors. This in turn goes against the claim that Nothing's app was in fact secure, and all these messages, emails, and other personal info have been leaked to third-party services. And as Phonarita points out, this could allow attackers to, quote, view your photos, videos, contacts, notes, and more. Nothing's app has been removed off the Play Store since then, and they've stated that they will bring it back when they are, quote, delaying the launch until further notice. So, JD, the man who's correct, you have the table.
Really, it's not me. I mean, I think a lot of us in the tech community, this was our biggest concern, was end-to-end encryption and actually being able to trust Carl Pei and SunBird. So I don't really think it's anything of a surprise. I mean, we knew the risks, we knew what was being used, we knew the parameters.
True.
So I think to expect anything less than to have this sketchy protocol take place, you'd have to be really naive. So, and
true.
I mean, for those who wanted to try it out, and that's another reason why I never actually went through with SunBird, and this is before nothing. I never went through with using SunBird because of this exact problem, and I was fearful of what would happen, which also begs the question, and I'm not sure if this was stated or specified in the sources you have. You mentioned, messages and emails and stuff like that. I'm also curious about personal credentials, emails and passwords for your Apple account. So
yeah, I think so. Yep.
Yeah, I think these two kind of go hand in hand with this closeout topic, and it was really the big news that took the tech community by storm. So with that, Apple has announced that they will adopt the RCS protocol alongside iMessage via a software update sometime in 2024. The announcement comes on the heels of Nothing voicing their plans to offer a morphed version of iMessage, as well as the continued disagreement between Apple and the EU with the Digital Markets Act.
Correct.
Apple cleared the air, stating that it will not be able to support, which is, this is upfront, support end-to-end encryption in the current state of RCS, as they claim it's not as secure as iMessage. However, this does mean that Android users can at least enjoy a better messaging experience when communicating with iPhone users. Apple also mentioned that it will work with GSMA on improving the protocol as time continues, but in the end, this still means that the green-blue bubble battle will still wage on. And that said, at least it won't be such a featureless experience. So the funny thing about this is I think Apple saw this, and they knew right away that it wasn't trustworthy, and that's why they jumped and just said, hey, we're going to adopt RCS. It's coming. Just hold your horses and don't screw anything up with this whole entire Nothing announcement, which is really sad because I had really high hopes for this in the sense that something good come about. But in the end, we know that the underlying factor was end-to-end encryption wasn't true to form and wasn't what we wanted it to be. So I'm not really sure if you have any other, theories or possibilities that kind of floated around in your mind in hearing all this and kind of having this developed. I'm just excited that Apple's actually doing it in the right way, even though it's not exactly the way we in the tech community, both Android and iPhone, wanted it to be.
I do think, and you kind of touched on it a bit, that the EU is kind of forcing Apple's hand once again. That we saw it happen with USB-C, and now I think they were going to do it with this too. There probably was a deadline. I think I saw a article somewhere suggesting that Apple did this on purpose at the right time because of the DMA. So, and there was the other thing, and I'm not sure if you even saw that, about the fact that the whole green-blue bubble war would still continue, but you did mention that, so I guess I have nothing really to say about that. It's just still annoying that you kind of have to deal with this sort of annoyance, and
I mean, go ahead.
This last thing, I figured Apple wasn't gonna totally bend the knee. It just seemed way too good to be true that they would even put all this out there. So
I mean, they are going to the absolute minimum to, appeal to what the EU wants. And I think it just comes down to, the user experience and having it to be a little bit more equal. And I think in partial, it's because we're too picky and it's just colors. So whether or not you're messaging between an iPhone and Android and you have to have it where it's blue, I don't know. Really what I care about is the baseline features where it's, higher shared media content, read receipts, typing indicators, stuff like that. So I think that's the important part, and that's something that we can kind of take away from this and just say, okay, it's not the greatest thing that we wanted, but at least it's there in a way where everyone can enjoy it, and I don't have to worry about messaging somebody on Google Messages just to have typing indicators between the two. This can actually happen when I'm messaging from an Android to an iPhone as well. So, I think you tried to. This was part of the pre-show conversation between Riley and I, but that's something that I'm not sure if we were discussing that would come with iOS 18 or if it was going to be where it's going to be on 17. I'm pretty sure that with something this big, it would probably be a next gen upgrade. That's my opinion. I'm not sure if that's something that you disagree with. Yeah, it just seems too big to throw in as, this is part of the end of iOS 17. I doubt that, especially considering it's next year. If it was going to be something where it was, important enough, it would happen between this past September and before we hit January. That's not happening. So
it'll be one of those things where it's like, yay, you finally announced RCS. It's been almost 15 years. So thank you for finally doing that. We appreciate you.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. They've talked about that with whether or not they had enough people asking about RCS and wanting it, and I think it's come to the point where it's
evident.
It's people like I said last week or the last episode. I felt like if nothing else, even if I did want Carl Pei's idea to succeed in some way, if nothing else, this would urge Apple to say, hey, people are trying to do this different ways and it's not secure. It's not the right way to do it. Let's just break down and at least put it in a format that can be usable and appease, the regulatories.
That's true.
The other thing that we'll still keep our eyes on is the App Store, because that is another factor of the gatekeepers aspect of the Digital Markets Act. So we'll continue to keep our eyes open on that one. But as far as iMessage, it looks like, we're finally going to get that. It's still going, like I said, the iMessages part is still going to exist. So obviously that's part of what the green and the blue differentiation is. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure if you have any other closing thoughts on this, but that's kind of where I stand.
Nope. I'm just at least glad that we're getting some kind of unifying thing here.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's how I feel too. So, but in either case, that closes out this week's episode. We certainly hope you guys enjoyed it. This is JD and Riley, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Peace out.